Welcome back to a brand new video, and today I'm talking about Nagashima Spaland and their giant roller coaster Steel Dragon 2000. This roller coaster is incredibly impressive in its size and scale. For one, you can see this coaster for miles. That's because the supports on this coaster are very dense due to the earthquake-proof structure. The coaster is also very tall, and it sits at a height of 318 feet, so it's the only non-launch Giga coaster outside of North America. It's also the longest roller coaster on Earth with a length of 8,133.2 feet, making it the longest coaster on Earth, and it provides a ride duration of around 4 minutes. The coaster uses 2 chain lifts because Morgan was not comfortable with using the cable lift technology, so about halfway up your initial ascent, you can feel a bit of a transition click under you. So yeah, this coaster is very unique and impressive. Talking about your ride experience, this is located sort of in the corner of the park. There's no theming. The name is due to the year of the dragon in China, and also because 2000 was the year it was built in. You'll get to your station and notice this has the B&M clamshell trains. That's because in March of 2013 they decided to change the trains. And there's 6 trains. So this has like really swift operations and has a really great throughput, but because this gets super long lines, it really does even out. I am a huge fan of these restraints. I love the B&M clamshell restraints for some reason. I just really like them. However, there is a shin guard, so tall people might have an issue with that. I'm 5'6", so I didn't really think they were an issue. But if you're taller than me, you might have some bit of uncomfort there. Quite the contrary, didn't really mind it at all. And then in the second half of the ride, you'll go through back-to-back ejector airtime hills, and this is where your photo is taken. So yes, the coaster is pretty repetitive, however, I like the elements. It's definitely a very fun and re-rideable coaster. During my stay at the park, I was able to ride this a total of 4 times, twice in the front and then twice towards the back, but I never got a full-on back row ride. The farthest I got to the back, I think, was maybe row 10, and I thought that was just fine. My front row is actually my favorite on this coaster, and that's because in the back you definitely got a bit of roughness. However, you do get that nice ejector airtime in the back. Now, for the rattle, I think this has just an average amount of rattle to it. It's definitely not butter smooth, but it's also not, the rattliest ride out there. But it is a tad bit rough, but that's understandable. I mean, the coaster is 18 years old, and it's made by Morgan. The B&M trains definitely help. I mean, I can't imagine how uncomfortable this coaster was with the original trains, so that 2013 transition was definitely needed. Definitely my least favorite part of the ride is how repetitive it is. I mean, like I said, those 2 helixes are forceless and pointless. And then the second half, I mean, it's just like 20 airtime hills back to back, and it's like, alright, is the coaster done yet? So yeah, I definitely think it's a bit on the repetitive side, but it's not a huge problem. Definitely my favorite thing about the ride was how it combined floater airtime with ejector airtime. Those first 2 hills have some great floater, and then the second half is riddled with nice ejector airtime. So that's definitely a huge plus. The drop is also very nice as well. Yeah, it's the worst Giga coaster by many, but I actually disagree. I like this more than Millennium Force, and then I have this ranked below Fury 325 and Intimidator 305. That's just because this is not a coaster for me. It's not intense at all. It's a little bit forceful in some parts of the ride, but when I look for a coaster, I look for strong ejector airtime, an intense ride, and a forceful ride. This coaster really only manages to pull off like 2 of those things, and barely. Whereas if you take something like Intimidator 305, it pulls off all 3 of those things. Same thing for Fury. But yeah, I like this more than I like this more than Millennium Force, and that's an unpopular opinion. But as someone that has ridden both, I think that it's okay that I can claim that. And a lot of people hate on this coaster that haven't ridden it. So if you hate on this coaster, just acknowledge this is a very underrated coaster because of that. This should not get the amount of hate it does. It's a very cool coaster. It's very advanced. And, I guess you have to remember that this was built 18 years ago, while I-305 and Fury 325 were most recently built. So yeah, it's definitely an underrated coaster and gets way too much hate. But that wraps up my thoughts on Steel Dragon 2000. Is it worth going to Nagashima Spaland just to ride this? Maybe, I think so. But once they get Hakugai, their Rocky Mountain construction coaster, combine that with their Monster clone, which is Acrobat, then I definitely think it's fine. The park is definitely worth going to. So yeah, Steel Dragon 2000 is great. For final grade, I will be giving this coaster a B+. I definitely think an A- could be justified if it was just a tad bit smoother, and if those helixes were more forceful. definitely think an A would be would be a good score as well. So yeah, it's an underrated coaster that gets way too much hate. That's a fun, re-rideable ride. Be sure to leave your thoughts down in the comment section below if you want to ride this or if you have ridden it. My name is Cupcake Coaster, and I'll catch you all next time. See you guys.